You've got Boris Johnson on stage. You've got Sajid Javid on stage. Michael Gove kind of on stage. And Jeremy Hunt almost there as well. They're all saying we will countenance a no-deal Brexit. Are these candidates all making promises to their membership that they cannot keep?
They all backed away from it. If you watch them, they all slithered around a bit on the question, but they all basically backed away from saying they'll do a no-deal Brexit. Every single one of them, if pushed, from my memory, was, it's just it's a negotiating position. You have to look like you're really serious about this negotiating position. Then they say, would you actually do it? Oh, well, it's a negotiating position. You have to look really serious about it, which is not the same as saying, yes, you'll actually do it, at which point it's a useless negotiating position because it's obvious it's just a negotiating position. The person who was really enthusiastic about a no-deal Brexit to the point of he will destroy parliamentary democracy, Dominic Raab, has now been eliminated. So you're left with a bunch of basically chancers who know full well that this is a really bad, difficult idea and they're not going to be able to deliver it. But the way they can look like they're going to deliver it in a way that seems like the grown-up politics we all care about is that it's just a cunning negotiating position, but everybody and their dog, including everybody in the EU, will know that they're not serious about this. There is no one who's serious about no-deal Brexit. That doesn't mean it can't happen. Things can happen by accident. Things can happen because nobody wants it and you just end up with this anyway. But really, if push comes to shove, the question is how rapidly can they sell not a no-deal Brexit, which almost certainly looks like the withdrawal agreement we already have, plus or minus some bells and whistles, nothing to do with what Europe will give you because they won't give you anything, what they can give to the Labour side or anybody else who might vote for it, and that's the only thing that's going to be different. The only person who's honest about that is Rory Stewart, and he's the only person who has the clear position on this.
I just want to refresh our memories on no deal Brexit. So Gary, can we prep the clip hands up if you will leave by 31st of October? And while that's being prepared, Ash, what were you going to say?
I mean, one of the things that I was going to say is that something that came out today and was reported on by The Guardian is that Boris Johnson's been going around making wild promises to Conservative MPs in private. So he's trying to appear socially liberal and centrist to socially liberal Tories and to centrist Tories. He's trying to look like a no-deal headbanger to no-deal headbangers. And one of the things that he might find is that whatever cosmetic changes he might be able to secure on the backstop, because this nonsense of we will simply get rid of the backstop, we will simply renegotiate the backstop, is a complete fiction, might not be enough to placate the likes of Steve Baker and those sort of real ERG wing nuts in his party. I think one of the things which hasn't come up in any of these debates, and I think really should, because I think it's got implications for what happens next to the Conservative Party, and also has very serious implications for what happens with Labour's approach to Brexit and how it can continue holding its current line or might have to tack more towards Remain, is how likely would Nigel Farage be to do a deal with Prime Minister Boris Johnson in the event of an early general election? Because lots of this no-deal posturing is to achieve one thing and one thing only, which is to claw back Brexit Party voters from Nigel Farage and get them voting Conservative again. And every single other candidate in that debate, even the OG leaver Michael Gove, will no doubt inspire the Brexit Party to run their candidates against Tories in key seats. Whereas Johnson is the only one who I could see opting perhaps for an early general election, putting no deal on his manifesto because there would be no other way to get it through Parliament or make it happen and secure a deal with Nigel Farage for him not to have the Brexit Party stand against him. You don't think that's likely?
I just don't think there's a chance. I don't think, look, it's never say never, particularly after the last few years. It's possible there'll be an early general election, but it's incredibly unlikely. The Fixed Term Parliament Act basically means that a government that doesn't want to go to an early general election doesn't have to do it. And what every single, in fact, they've just done it publicly, really, but what they've been doing in private, I would have thought, every single candidate standing is going to every Tory MP and basically letting me know there is no way on God's earth that they will have an early general election. You might have seen the Daily Mail 2 days ago had Boris Johnson's camp noisily declaring that whatever you may have thought from his rather loose-lipped speech that was being spun, presumably by Michael Gove, as, you might call an early general election. No. Boris Johnson is not going to call an early general election. Now, Boris Johnson's saying something, you can either believe it or not believe it as you see fit, but broadly speaking, it's quite hard to persuade a bunch of MPs that you've insisted that you will not have an early general election to then vote for one because you've decided circumstances are changed or things are just difficult or for whatever reason. So, frankly, I think the most likely date for the election remains 2022. So we're going to be here for a long time, which is a depressing thought in very, very many ways. Unless something big turns up, some big external factor intervenes. That's where we're going to get to. So in terms of the Brexit Party and the calculations you make with it, the real calculation calculation is, will the Brexit Party sustain itself until 2022, which is when your election is? Can you guarantee that? No, you can't. Look at the history of UKIP over the last 20 or 30, what is it now, 25 years? Up and down and up and down and up and down for a good long period of time. The latest permutation has done more damage than previous permutations UKIP did, but it's within the zone of what UKIP was able to achieve at European elections. So your calculation really is, will the Brexit Party survive? No. Your second order calculation might be, what does Nigel Farage have to be bribed with to shut up and go away for a bit, to quote the late lamented Defence Secretary at that point. Lord Farage and a seat in the cabinet, who knows? Whatever it takes. And you
think that'd be enough?
Would it be enough to get Nigel Farage what he wants? Yeah, I think he'd quite like the laurel wreaths and the looking important. I think that's broadly speaking what Nigel Farage is after in all of this. Maybe he's got a longer term, more serious plan. Maybe it's how we're going to reconstruct the right in Britain, because the Conservative Party is now a party on its last legs, rather visibly. That doesn't mean they disappear and suddenly it's whoopee-doo socialism forever. It could well mean the Brexit Party or something like AFD or something far worse that appears in its place. But nonetheless, this does not look like a viable project for the British right at this point in time. A softer version of that might be what starts to happen around a candidate like Rory Stewart, who can present himself as the grown-up in the room, the sensible one.